Just a few days ago, the Boston Celtics were in the Crescent City playing against New Orleans Pelicans. Midway through the first quarter, CJ McCollum hit a 25-foot three-pointer in transition to put the Pelicans up 8. The Pels had scored 21 points on their first 15 possessions of the game, which was equivalent to a 140 offensive rating. Joe Mazzulla called his first timeout, and for the remaining 42 minutes of the game, the Boston Celtics held New Orleans to only 71 points and an 84 offensive rating. The Celtics boast the best record in the NBA and also the best net rating since January 1st. Their process on offense and defense has been elite, and that showed itself in their Saturday matchup against the Pelicans. For example, the Celtics like to play up into the driving gaps here to help out on Zion Williamson's dribble penetration. Jrue Holiday's foot is on the elbow when Zion goes to make his move, and that puts him in perfect position to get his arm in and force a jump ball. Jrue Holiday has been used a lot differently than he was in Milwaukee, and one thing that stood out about Holiday this season is how often he's guarded much bigger players. We all remember the matchup from earlier in the season where he was matched up against Karl Anthony Towns. But in this game, he was matched up with Herb Jones, which means Jaylen Brown got Zion as the primary assignment. Here, Zion loses the ball off of his foot, and Jaylen Brown's relentless hustle gets a steal, which leads to an easy fast break opportunity. Boston's defense has been elite for the past few years, and a big reason for that is their size. Jrue Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Kristaps Porzingis are all at least 6'4" or taller, which means it's almost impossible for any team to hunt them in matchups. Zion catches the ball here at the free throw circle, and he tries to plow into Jaylen Brown's chest, but he's too big, and the Celtics have a lot of length that makes this shot a very difficult one. Zion calls for CJ McCollum to clear out so he can attack Jaylen Brown in the mid-post. As he makes his move and turns over his right shoulder, Kristaps Porzingis is waiting there right for him. Porzingis' length blocks the second chance opportunity, and that's another stop for the Celtics defense. Or take this play where Trey Murphy is matched up with Derek White in transition, and a high ball screen is not enough to free himself from the best screen navigator in the game, and that's another contested floater that Boston will live with. Here's another play off a scramble drill where New Orleans has to fall back on Naji Marshall attacking Jaylen Brown off a closeout, and again, this is a difficult fadeaway that Boston is more than happy with seeing. Because Boston is so comfortable switching everything on defense, that also makes them one of the best scramble drill teams in the league. And on situations where teams break down the initial defense, it's very hard to score in these situations because Boston is so in sync and they force a contested fadeaway out of bounds here. Of course, plays like this open up the fast break opportunity where cross switches in transition means that somebody has a mismatch. Jaylen Brown finds it and throws an easy pass over the top to Al Horford. The Celtics are a well-disciplined and coached team, and they know the numbers and analytics, which is why their defense has also been so exceptional this year. Take this play, for example, early in the second quarter when Jrue Holiday wisely doesn't close out the Dyson Daniels because he's a poor outside shooter compared to CJ McCollum, and that's a missed shot and a defensive rebound for the Celtics. Everyone on the Celtics roster has been locked in defensively this year, and think about how much of a luxury it is to have someone like Al Horford, who was just an all-defensive candidate 2 years ago, now coming off the bench providing similar defensive impact in fewer minutes because of how dominant the Celtics starting five has been. Horford is one of those players who seems to never age. He gets matched up with Naji Marshall here at the top of the key and moves his feet well to block his shot at the rim. I mean, this is a 37-year-old man still showcasing the same traits that he once had in Atlanta almost 10 years prior. Not only that, but Horford can still attack switches in isolation on smaller players, which he was able to do in this game, attacking Herb Jones on a switch. Matchup hunting is something the Celtics do really well, and this offensive process had New Orleans in a chokehold. Derek White is able to come off a pin down and drain an open three here in the second quarter, but this is made possible because Larry Nance is preoccupied with preventing Al Horford from attacking a switch in the post. This gives Derek White just enough space to drain an open three, so a minute later, Larry Nance is now preoccupied with preventing this pin down, which means Jaylen Brown can throw it over the top to Al Horford, who can now punch the mismatch in the post.
Hey, bro, come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Of course, I think the Celtics offense is at its best when they're running the offense through Porzingis. KP poses such a huge target rolling to the rim at 7'3". The Pelicans slide over early to prevent the roll, which means Jaylen Brown is open in the corner for a 3. Of course, when he's not rolling, he can always stop at the free throw line and attack a mismatch. But KP statistically has been the best post-up player in the league this year, and so the Pelicans decide it's best if they peel switch here, but they botch it, which leads to an open free throw line midi for Porzingis. Of course, if the Pelicans do decide to concede the switch and they don't send help, KP will simply attack whoever's defending him, and on this play he draws a foul. Of course, if you are going to double team Porzingis, it better not be from one pass away because the Celtics have shooters, and on this play, Hauser's wide open at the top of the key for an easy 3. Much has been said about the Celtics' almost trigger happiness from 3 this season, but one thing you can't deny is their ability to maximize spacing around their stars. Tatum gets matched up with Trey Murphy in isolation, and watch where the Celtics shooters are. Derek White and Jaylen Brown are almost 5 feet off the three-point line, while Holiday and Porzingis are both spaced out to the opposite corner. This means Tatum has all the space in the world to drive towards the baseline without seeing early help. This spacing is critical for allowing KP to attack his mismatches at the free throw line. KP gets matched up with Herb Jones here, but CJ McCollum is right at the nail in his driving gap, so Peyton Pritchard makes a little angle cut which frees him all the space, and KP with a pirouette of moves is able to draw a foul. KP is also a solid passer in these spots. Again, the Pelicans botched the peel switch, so KP is able to attack a closeout and dump the pass down to Jaylen Brown in the dunker spot. Late in the game, clinging to a double-digit lead, the Celtics went back to KP in the mid-post matchup against CJ McCollum. The Pelicans send a double, and it's an easy kick out to Derek White, and you know the drill by now. Another thing that makes the Celtics' offensive process so dangerous is their screening. The Celtics like to run this rip DHO, where Tatum sets a back screen for the ball handler, only to come off a dribble handoff. The Pelicans switch this handoff action, which means Tatum can now go to work in isolation on Larry Nance, and you know the step back is coming. Of course, the Celtics can also run this 3-man action with Tatum at the pinch post instead of Porzingis, and having shooters at every position means the flare screen is also an option instead of the DHO. Plays like this are meant to exploit non-switching defenses, which is why the Celtics' offensive process is so dangerous. Regardless of what strategy you take, they have a counter for almost everything. I like to think of Porzingis as sort of a safety valve offensively, because the Celtics do have a tendency to get bogged down in isolation during the playoffs. But this added dimension of a 7'3" unicorn that can shoot from anywhere makes me wonder how teams will effectively guard Boston in a playoff setting. Teams have tried to attack Porzingis in isolation, but he's shown vast improvement on that end, and of course his length makes any layup in traffic almost impossible. That length also manifested itself in the Pelicans game, where KP used that long wingspan to deny an entry pass to Zion in the mid-post. Those final 3 quarters against the Pelicans on Saturday night was only a microcosm of how dominant this Celtics team has been all season. The best net rating in basketball all year, the best offense in basketball all year, and a top 3 defense in basketball all year. Say what you want to about their championship goals this year, but one thing is for certain. This version of the Boston Celtics has been absolutely unfair. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've made it to the end, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what other videos you would like to see next. Of course, I do have a Twitter account as well. It'll be linked in the description box below. And if you give me a follow, you'll be able to see some more threads and other content that I post that isn't on YouTube. Before you go, let me know down in the comments if there's any team in the Eastern Conference that can beat the Boston Celtics in the playoffs. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.